to another episode. Hey everybody, it's Jeff. Welcome to another episode.
Hey everybody, it's Jeff. Welcome to another episode of Stay Rad Wine Blog TV. Today, I have two more samples coming from Castello di Amorosa. You've seen me review some of their wines before. In fact, I did a Chardonnay from them about a month or two ago, and it was one of my favorite wines of the year so far. Now, when that first Chardonnay came, there were two other Chardonnays that you may remember I alluded to in that video. Two more Chardonnays from the exact same year, from 2013. Both of these Chardonnays are from the exact same vineyard, from the Nacido vineyard in Santa Maria, California. So we're talking about Santa Barbara County, Nacido Vineyards. I took a tour of that place last summer, and it's a really fun place to visit. And I'm a big fan of a lot of the wines that come out of there. They do a lot of Pinot Noir there. They do some Syrah there, but then Chardonnay's the other grape. It's very much a cool climate area, so it's a good place to grow those cool climate grapes. That's where they want to be. Now, what's interesting about both of these wines is that almost everything is exactly the same. We got the same winemakers working on this wine. We've got, the same company selling this wine. It's from the same vineyard. It's from the same vintage. The big difference is when you look on the label over here where it says La Rocca. This is a wine that was fermented and aged in a concrete egg. So they're going super old school on that one. Most of the time when we think about fermenting wines, especially Chardonnay, we think about oak. And this second Chardonnay that I'm going to get into in a little bit, this was aged in 100% Burgundian French oak. It's kind of neat to see the difference of how these things are going to work. Just changing essentially one variable. I should mention that this second wine, when I get into it, it did go through, 40% of it went through malolactic fermentation. This La Rocca right here went through no malolactic fermentation. They were both aged sur lie, so they were on that yeast and that sediment, which was getting stirred up all the time to impart like a nice mouthfeel and some good flavors there. But enough talking, let's get into this wine. So here we go, the Castello di Amorosa 2013 Nacido Vineyard La Rocca Chardonnay. And it's that varietally consistent golden yellow color. What's kind of fun about Chardonnay is it's really kind of tough to mistake it just on color alone, because a lot of times we're dealing with like a richer profile, and you kind of see that richness and that structure right there. You get a lot of that like deep gold color, and you get a sense of that viscosity as you're swirling it around before you even taste it. Now, on the nose, beautiful, bright, tropical type of notes. I'm getting some like papaya and mango. I'm getting a nice crisp mineralite on there, and I gotta tell you, in general, and I think we're seeing this happen, across the country in terms of the types of white wines that people are really going towards now. It's a lot of that like crisp, lively, bright, mineral-driven white wines that I'm hearing a lot of folks get really excited about, and especially this time of year during the summer when it's so hot, it's nice to have something kind of refreshing. Some Chardonnays tend to get kind of goopy, and that's not necessarily something that I want on a super hot day. So I mean, on the nose, it's coming across as very bright and clean. I'm getting a little bit of peach skin there as well, so there's some subtlety on that nose also. And let's get onto the palate here. So I mean, this is it's interesting because on one level, this is one of the zestier Chardonnays you're gonna have, and on another level, there's this really nice classic richness. So you've got these two kind of structural components that are working together to bring some really nice balance to this wine. I'm getting like a citrusy lemon lime type of acidity right away, and that's carrying through. This finish is nice, medium to medium long finish here, but there is this good richness that's coming across from that surly aging. It's not like that malolactic buttery type of component. It's just like this rich, I don't want to say creamy because it's not malolactic creamy, but it's that creamy type of background that's there. There's this really nice viscous mouthfeel. It's not goopy like I was mentioning earlier with some of those like overly, manipulated Chardonnays can get into that range. It's got a nice luscious mouthfeel, but it still finishes clean, which I really appreciate as well. Yeah, along with that beautiful citrus, you are getting some nice minerality there as well. You are getting some of that like peachy apricot thing as well. This is a this is a fun, enjoyable wine. And it is kind of neat to talk about, how it was aged. Sometimes wine becomes that conversation. So as you're sitting here and as you're sharing this with a friend, you can talk about, well, what does La Rocca mean? Well, it means the fortress, and that's kind of what that cement egg would kind of remind you of. And so there are kind of like some talking points you can have as you're enjoying this wine. Both of these wines, by the way, $38 for a Santa Barbara grown Chardonnay that was produced in Napa Valley. I think we're talking about a comparable price range here. This is really enjoyable. I'm gonna set La Rocca aside here, and now we're gonna go into their straightforward Castello di Amorosa 2013 Bien Nacido Vineyard Chardonnay. So again, the big difference here is instead of being in a concrete egg, this stuff was fermented in 100% Burgundian oak barrels, aged in 100% Burgundian oak barrels as well. 40% of it went through malolactic fermentation. And so if we look at this comparison, right, you're seeing deeper, more golden Chardonnay color there. So again, both of these are very, very much typically Chardonnay. It's funny how you can kind of see the oak just on visual inspection. That's always kind of something neat to see there. Now, let's get into that nose. And you're getting more of like this toastiness, this creaminess that's on the nose from that oak. You're getting like a nice like green apple there as well. And still there's that mineral component that is showing up in this wine. Now on the palate, and this is that more of a classic style of California Chardonnay where it's got this oak, but it's not like overly manipulated by that oak. The oak is not, it's not like you see that wine that just says butter across the label, or you see those wines that just say like super toasty, oaky, like on the front. You're not getting something like that. The oak is very much there as a complement to this wine, and this is something that I find in a lot of those Chardonnays that I gravitate towards. I'm not a huge fan of, those naked stainless steel only Chardonnays, because I think that oak is adding like a really nice flavor profile, but I do not like it when they are overly aggressive, and this is not even close to that. Yeah, there's that like creme brulee type of thing happening. Again, you're getting like this zestiness, and I gotta believe that on some level, coming from a cool climate vineyard where you've got a longer growing season, which allows the acidity to climb up. And as I compare, there aren't a whole lot of differences to these wines as I'm looking at the stat sheet. But when I do see a difference in total titratable acidity, there actually is in this oak fermented Chardonnay. We are up just slightly, about half a gram per liter more acidity in the standard Bien Nacido Chardonnay. And that acidity does come across, and I think on some level, you need to have a higher acidity if you're gonna bring that oak in. If you're just going oak with no acidity, you're really just gonna have that one note oak dominated Chardonnay, which a lot of people in the United States love, but I think sucks. I almost said a bad word. This is a family show. But what I am saying is that acidity is a really good complement there. So I really am enjoying this. Let me see if I can pick anything else out. Yeah, those apples, that citrus, that creaminess, that minerality that we keep talking about. I mean, these are really nice. It's nice to see two different expressions that we can get from. It's weird when we think about the winemaker as the manipulator of what we get from nature, because both these things were grown in the exact same place and treated almost the exact same way. When we see like minimalistic changes in terms of what vessel was it aged in, to see these differences, but still get these two really nice, subtle wines that are completely different from each other. It's really kind of fun to check out. So of course I'm going to have a link for you in terms of checking out Castello di Amorosa, because I gotta say, when I first, and I'm sure the guys, Castello di Amorosa, because you sent me these samples and I really do appreciate it, and so understand where I'm coming from is from a place of love. When I first tasted your wines like 5, 6, 7 years ago, I was not a fan at all. But in these last 3 Chardonnays that I've tasted on this episode and that episode about a month or so ago, I am such a fan of what you've done here. It's kind of changed the way that I look at you guys as a winery, and I especially love. I'm always a fan of single vineyard approaches, and to see, again, subtle changes in that winemaking making a big difference. So I'd love for you guys at home to check them out if you get a chance to taste these or get a hold of a bottle. I totally suggest it. These are 2 great wines, and I'm gonna put them both in that. Wow. I'm going to put them both in that like 92 plus range. 2 fantastic efforts. Wow. Hey, so go ahead and leave a comment letting me know what you think about wines aged in concrete eggs. Till next time, everybody, stay rad.
Stay rad, wine blog. Stay rad, wine blog. Stay rad, wine blog. Stay rad, wineblog.com.